Ooh, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the DFS Hockey Report. It is Thursday, what is it, the 9th? I think it's the 9th. Thursday, the 9th of October. How's it going, Zach? A little bit late today, first 14-game slate of the season. We're still working out some kinks. If you're in the DFS Discord and you've got the charts that I sent in there, there is some names not lining up with the proper teams. I'll fix all that once we finish the show. Everything you see on the show today will be correct. I had Columbus players on Carolina, and it was a whole shit show. But Zach, quickly, how are you doing? Let's jump right in here in a second.
Doing good. Jays won. Sadly, the Oilers lost, but I got a cold beer in my hand, and I am ready to roll on this massive 14 game.
Cheers, brother. Yes, we were one game away from the Detroit Tigers and the Toronto Blue Jays in the ALCS, which would just be electric for the city of Windsor, Ontario, where we're just basically split 50-50 between Detroit and Toronto. So that would be super fun. And then obviously a lot of my buddies are Jays fans and I'm a Tigers fan. So it's going to be super exciting. But let's get into the hockey. 14 games. Let's go. We'll start with the goalies here. John Gibson makes his Red Wings debut. He'll face Jakub Dobeš, who gets the start in the second half of a back-to-back for the Canadiens. Alex Lyon makes his Sabres debut tonight for Buffalo, obviously. He'll go head-to-head with Igor Shesterkin as the Sabres host the Rangers. Jonas Korpisalo is projected to get the start on the second half of a back-to-back for the Bruins. Obviously, we saw a really strong performance from Jeremy Swayman yesterday. We've got Arvid Soderblom expected to start for the Blackhawks. Sergei Bobrovsky goes for the Panthers. It'll be Dan Vladar for the Philadelphia Flyers. Tristan Jarry will start as the Pittsburgh Penguins. We'll try to get both goalies a game here at the start of the season. Elias Sorokin goes for the Islanders. It'll be Andrei Vasilevsky versus Linus Ullmark. Frederick Anderson versus Jacob Markstrom. Likely going to see a great goaltending duel between Connor Hellebuck and Jake Ottinger, although Ottinger is unconfirmed. Would be shocked if he doesn't get the opening night start, though. Jordan Binnington goes for the Blues, expecting to see Philip Gustafsson for the Wild, expecting to see UC Saros for the Predators. Pretty interesting here. Jack Reeves gets the opening night nod for the Blue Jackets. I think that we all kind of expect him to be the number one in Columbus, but I was a little bit surprised that they gave him the opening night start. Glad to see that. A lot of talks in him this year. Scott Wedgwood goes for the Avs. Mackenzie Blackwood still banged up. Karel Vejmelka expected to get the start for the Utah Mammoth. It'll be Joey Daccord likely for the Kraken. We are projecting to see Lukas Dostal for the Anaheim Ducks. It'll be Alex Nedeljkovic getting the opening night start for the Sharks. A little surprising there. It'll be most likely Akira Schmid, second half of a back-to-back for the Golden Knights. Thatcher Demko likely to get the opening night start for the Canucks, projecting to see Devin Cooley for the Flames after Dustin Wolf went yesterday. Let's dive right into today's slates. We are going to run it the same way we did yesterday, where we kind of just alternate back and forth, breaking games down. And at the end of the show, we will go through our favorite plays of the night. As you see here, added a little bit additional information here. I also have the highest to lowest implied totals in addition to the game implied totals here. But we'll start with the Red Wings and the Montreal Canadiens. The Red Wings are minus 134 favorites here at home. The Canadiens on the second half of back-to-back. I bet the Red Wings. This feels like a really soft line for the Montreal Canadiens coming in on the second half of back-to-back. The Red Wings have 3 rookies in their lineup. I think there's going to be a lot of juice in this lineup tonight with those 3 rookies. I think the building is going to be electric. As a Red Wings fan, this is as excited as I've been for a season opener in probably a decade. Some really good young prospects playing tonight. Really excited to see this team on the ice. In terms of the matchups, it is as good as it gets for the Red Wings tonight. Top line has the best matchup overall. The second line has a very good matchup. The third line has a great matchup as well. So yeah, I just really like the Detroit side of things. Obviously, Montreal, pretty good matchups across the board for them, but not nearly as good as the Detroit side of things. When you take a look at the line stats here, the Red Wings top line grades out as the best line overall. The third line, not great, but they also are adding Michael Brandsegg-Nygaard to that line tonight, who is going to be a tremendous talent, hopefully, and great shooter. Should bring a little bit of offense to that third line, makes them a little bit more exciting. On the Montreal side of things, I know you always go to Montreal 3, Zach. I always just kind of say like Montreal 1 or bust for me. I just don't really trust the rest of this lineup right now. So I think Montreal 1 is in a pretty good spot. Detroit 1, 2, and 3 is pretty much all playable for me tonight. The Red Wings also have the number 1 power play advantage on the slate tonight. So I really feel strongly about Detroit tonight. When you take a look at some of their stacks here, the top stack for them is Detroit 1. Not seeing that much ownership, under 5%. Detroit 2, also under 5%. So not really a whole lot of ownership coming in on the Red Wings side of things. If I just pull up their projections here really quick because some of these guys are ridiculously cheap. So Brantic Nygaard is minimum price. So like obviously you can get to him tonight on that second power play unit. And then Axel Sandin Pellikka is also minimum price and projects as one of our best value plays tonight. So going to the Red Wings rookies tonight, I think is a really good way to get salary relief. I know I'm not supposed to spend too much time on these games, but it's hard for me not to be excited about what we could potentially see from the Red Wings tonight. Also interested in Montreal 1. Zach, game number 2.
Yeah, it's okay, Brock. We get a little bit of leeway when we get to talk about your Red Wings or my Edmonton Oilers. Game 2 of the night here, we got the Buffalo Sabres the New York Rangers paying visit to the Buffalo Sabres. Rangers coming in as minus 112 favorites. Not a huge implied total for either side here in what looks to be a pretty split game. Taking a look at the lines here in this game, Rangers top 2 lines looking pretty good as they normally do. That Rangers second line grading out as the sixth best overall to target, and New York 1 coming in as the 9th best. Despite that, the Buffalo Sabres 20th and 25th for their first and second lines here on this slate tonight. The matchup's definitely favoring the Buffalo Sabres side of things. Going to be a bit of a mixed bag in terms of the matchups here. No hard matching really either way, but some top line against top line, second line, that sort of a thing, at least for these top sixes. Not a lot of ownership coming in here on this game tonight, which I think is a little bit interesting because I think there's some spots that are okay here. Starting on this Buffalo Sabres side of things, this top 6 productive last year. They had some really strong stretches. I think for me, I got a little bit more interest in this second line. Jason Zucker, Yuri Kulich, and Alex Tuch, they were put together last year and had some really solid numbers down the stretch run of the season. So I think that's the line I probably got the most interest in from the Sabres side of things. Maybe get a little bit of this top line for the Sabres as well. In terms of the Rangers, coming off of a tough loss the other night, getting shut out 3-0 by the Pittsburgh Penguins, debuting their new jerseys on home ice. So they're going to be hungry, coming looking for a bounce back tonight. Obviously that second line looks to be in a bit of a better spot than that top line. Don't know how much Rangers I'm going to get to as a whole, probably sprinkling in a little bit of that second line, but probably going to leave off the top line for me on this slate tonight.
Yeah, and Jim puts it really well here. This is kind of what I was just going to get to. Nobody knows what to make of the Rangers after that first game. It was not pretty. The expected goals were like 5 to 1.5 in that game, and it's against a Penguins team that people aren't really expecting to be very good. So yeah, the Rangers are a little concerning tonight just because I don't really know where to go. Boston and Chicago is a game that I think is going to be pretty lame, although I did bet the over, so I'm hoping it's not entirely lame. I mean, it was a 5.5 total when you've got Jonas Korpisalo versus Arvid Soderblom. I felt like that was a pretty good number to get that goaltending matchup at. But the Bruins come with an implied total of 3.3, 2.6 for the Blackhawks. When you take a look at the matchups and the pace score here, it is the lowest implied total, lowest event game on the entire slate. But the matchups are pretty good for the Bruins top 6. We saw that top line have some success last night. The Blackhawks, like Frankie Nazar had a really nice opening night, but that second line really didn't do a whole lot. They were, I guess, kind of fortunate to pot 2 goals as they did. So I'm not going to overreact to that one game. I still think the Bruins are going to be a somewhat difficult team to play against this year. They might not be, the best offense, but I still think that it's going to be hard to generate a lot, although they did give up 36 shots to the Capitals last night. But I don't think that this Chicago team is quite the Washington Capitals. So I'm probably not all that interested in this game as a whole. I'll probably get to some Boston 1. They graded as the second best line overall. They are seeing a pretty healthy amount of ownership at 9.1%, which I believe is the highest owned line on the slate. Yeah, it is. So that's, I don't know if I'll necessarily be over the field. I'll have a little bit of exposure to this line, but I'm not all that confident enough in the Sabres or in the Bruins on the second half of a back-to-back to be like, that's the chalk that I want to eat in a 14-game slate. I think there are a lot of options tonight. So game number 4, Zach.
Yeah, game 4 tonight, we got the Florida Panthers hosting the Philadelphia Flyers. Panthers coming in minus 208 favorites here, looking like one of the good stacks, good lines to target here overall on this slate tonight. Really like the look of this top 6 for the Florida Panthers. Top line grading out as the 3rd best line to target on this slate tonight, projecting for like under 5% ownership. I have no issue here getting to this top line. Not super expensive at $19,300. They don't have the strongest matchup score here on this Florida side of things. That gets owned by the second line, who are going to be seeing a lot of that Philadelphia Flyers top line here tonight. No problem jamming in some of this top six for the Florida Panthers here tonight. Seems like a pretty nice spot for them. The Flyers side of things, I mean, this is kind of gross. That Flyers second line is very expensive at $18,200. Really seeing no ownership here on this Philadelphia side tonight, and I tend to agree with that. I don't think I'm going to be getting to a whole lot of the Philadelphia Flyers here. I think some Matvei Michkov one-offs are in play at $6,400. 2 games played against the Florida Panthers in his career. He's got 4 points, averaging like 12 DraftKings points per game. So I think that could be an interesting one-off play there. But for me, it's pretty much going to be Florida one or bust here in this spot.
Yeah, you talk about Florida one. Just quickly, they had 25 shot attempts at 5v5 against the Blackhawks the other night. They were absolutely dominant. Obviously, the Blackhawks not a defensive force by any means, but just the shot volume is what you come to expect from guys like Verhaeghe and Sam Bennett. And I think they could have another nice night. Obviously, Dan Vladar getting the start feels pretty good as well. Pittsburgh and the Islanders. I don't know if I really need to talk about this game a ton. It's not one that I have a ton of interest in. The Islanders and Penguins both grade out with like pretty reasonable matchups. It does grade out as a pretty high event game, so like it's worth peeking at. I just don't know if either offense is like going to be that good to even take advantage of maybe some poor defense on the other side. The Penguins top line grades out really well, and the Islanders second line grades out really well. So those would probably be the two that I would take a peek at. When you take a look at the Islanders second line, Anders Lee, Matthew Barzal, Kyle Palmieri at 16,300, I think that's a pretty decent price tag, only about 4.7% ownership. And then Pittsburgh one grades out right above them, about the exact same amount of ownership and a little bit more expensive. Those would be the two that I would target in this game. They both grade out in our top 15, but I don't think it's one that I'm like, really, really all that interested in playing, although the Penguins do have the 6th best power play advantage on the night as well. So I think, yeah, like I was pretty impressed with what I saw from the Penguins on opening night, all things considered. Like generating 5 expected goals is pretty impressive. So if they can keep that rolling, great. But on a 14-game slate, I just think that there are much more appealing spots to go. Zach, you're up.
Yeah, interesting game here tonight between the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Ottawa Senators. Lightning coming in as minus 172 favorites here, 3.5 implied goals on this slate for them. I like the look of this top line here tonight quite a bit, actually. Grading out as the 6th best line to target overall on this slate tonight. They're also the most expensive at $22,200. That's to be expected here when it comes to this top 6. But boy, or this top line rather. But Jake Gensel, Braden Point, Nikita Kucherov, they are all over a point per game, up to a point and a half per game against the Ottawa Senators in their career. Not necessarily the best matchup scores here for this Lightning top line tonight. Which, brings a little bit of concern there. But you know what? At the end of the day, I kind of like this spot quite a bit. It feels like a good spot to kind of pay up to get different here. We've seen this top line pop off before many a times, and they've done so against this Ottawa Senators team. The second line, not drawing much better of a matchup here tonight. But offensively, they're equally as strong as that top line has been. You'd like to see a little more goal scoring from them. Hopefully that's something that can turn around here this season with Cirelli and Hagel and Gage Konkolovas there on that second line. The Ottawa Senators side of things, I've got a little bit of interest here in this top line, but that's really about it for me. I think I'll get to a little bit of a Stützle, Brady Tkachuk mini stack, but the rest of it is pretty gross. Pretty bleak matchup scores across the board for the Senators here in this spot tonight. Second line coming in with the best matchup score, but it is still pretty dismal. For me, pretty much a mini stack of Ottawa one or bust here in this spot.
Yeah, I think one thing worth mentioning quickly about this one too, the Lightning coming with the 4th best power play advantage, top 10 power play last year, going up against the 23rd ranked PK from a season ago. So a pretty nice home ice matchup here for the Lightning, who we anticipate will score plenty of goals this season. The Hurricanes and the Devils, could be a fun game, could be a high event game. 3.3 implied total for the Hurricanes, minus 167 home favorites, 2.6 implied total for the Devils. I think like what's most interesting about this game is just how cheap the Devils top line is, the Hurricanes top line is, 17,600 to full stack Ehlers, Aho, and Jarvis seems outrageously reasonable. And they're really not seeing a ton of ownership either at 6.7%. So the matchup, obviously not great. They're going to see a mix of the top 6 here from the Devils side of things. The Devils top 6, obviously performs pretty well defensively, but the Jack Hughes line still grades out below average defensively. So if they elect to get the top line of Aho, Ehlers and Jarvis out there against the Hughes line a little bit more. It's certainly a matchup I think they could take advantage of. I don't think you want to play them against Nico Hischier's line as much as you could avoid it. So really think that that's an interesting line at that price tag. Obviously, the Hurricanes are all, pretty talented. I'm really excited to see what we can get out of the second line this year. And they're really cheap to start the season as well at 13,600. That's a lot of firepower and a lot of talent on a line that's just 13,600. It honestly might be the most talented $13,600 line of all time. Svechnikov, I'm really excited to see what he can do with Logan Stankoven, an actual capable NHL player at center, and not Jesperi Kotkaniemi. And then Jackson Blake, obviously a guy that just continues to come into his own. So at 13,600, super interested in the second line as well. I think I really like the Hurricanes top six as a whole tonight. As for the Devils, not really interested. The top six grayed out 20th and 21st. Not seeing any ownership. So if you want to get super contrarian, that's a route to go. Dadonov on the top line, $3,100, had a pretty good preseason, seemed to fit well with Hughes and Jesper Bratt, but 17,200. Obviously, we know how bad of a matchup it is to go into Carolina and play against the Hurricanes. So I'll probably look elsewhere in terms of the power plays in this one. The Devils do have a very good power play, but the Hurricanes have very good PK as well. So I don't think this is a super high scoring game, but I'm still going to jam in some Carolina just given the price tags.
Yeah, I like that idea there. That second line does seem super intriguing to me. On to the next game here on the slate tonight. We got a pick 'em here, coin toss between the Winnipeg Jets and the Dallas Stars. Jets are hosting the Stars here tonight for their home opener on the season. Don't really know if I have a whole lot of interest in this game, to be totally honest with you. The Winnipeg Jets top line comes in at $20,700 to full stack. Not seeing a lot of ownership here at just 3.6%. This game as a whole is one that the public is kind of seemingly wanting to stay away from. I don't know if I necessarily fully agree with that because I think there's some interesting spots here tonight. One spot that's really catching my eye is actually this second line for the Dallas Stars, $14,800 to full stack. Wyatt Johnson, Jason Robertson, and Maverick Bourque here. I think they're the one that I probably feel the most comfortable targeting from this Dallas Stars side of things. That third line with Duchesne, Seguin, and Colin Blackwell probably won't be getting down there. You can make an argument to get up to that top line as well, but I don't really love Sam Steele up on the first line with Rupe Hintz and Mikko Rantanen. On the Jet side of things, the top line obviously grading out as the best here in this game tonight. We all know how good Winnipeg 1 has been over the last number of years. But we also know how frustrating Winnipeg 1 has been over the last couple of years. They're definitely a power play that we like to get after here. I think you could maybe make an argument for it here tonight. Decent power play matchups for both the Winnipeg and the Dallas side of thing here on this game tonight. For me, that's probably where most of my interest lies. A little bit of ownership coming in on Winnipeg 3. If you're looking for a salary saving line, I suppose there's an argument you could get down there a little bit, but I don't really have a ton of interest. It is worth noting, though, Alex Iafallo on Winnipeg 3 projected to play on the top power play unit. So that's one way that you can get yourself a little bit cheaper there if you're playing the Jets top line.
Yeah, I think the one thing that I bet the Stars tonight, road favorite still, but this is a banged up Winnipeg team. No Adam Lowry, no Dylan Sandberg. Like, what made this team so good on home ice last year was their ability to match up Adam Lowry's line and put Dylan Sandberg out there and match up against the opposition's best and just basically take them out of the game. Without those two in the lineup, I think this is a team that could struggle early in the season. And I think Cole Perfetti missing is not helpful for that top six. I don't know what Jonathan Taves has got left in the tank. Gustav Nyquist in the top six. Like, this is a team that I'm a little bit concerned about early in the season. And I do think that the Stars are in a pretty interesting spot. Like you said, that second line with about an average matchup tonight, and the offensive metrics quite good for that entire top nine. So I do agree, like, that price tag on Dallas too is a little bit too cheap, and I think they are a line even against Connor Hellebuck that you could take a stab on, just given the injuries in Winnipeg this year, or at least to start this year. St. Louis and Minnesota, pretty tight checking, low scoring affair here. I would imagine implied total suggests that as well. 3.1 implied total for the Blues, 2.8 for the Wild. When you take a look at the matchups, it's pretty bleak across the board. The only line with a pretty reasonable matchup inside either top nine is St. Louis 1. They grade out as the 18th best line to target tonight. I think Jimmy Snuggerud at 3,500 is a really nice value. I don't know if I'm going to full stack necessarily this entire line, but I think Snuggerud at 35K is a nice punt play. That'll probably be kind of the extent of my exposure. He's got a tremendous shot. I think he's in for a big year playing on a line with Robert Thomas. That shot paired with that elite playmaking ability, also on the top power play unit. I think Snuggerud's in for a big year, and I want to take advantage of this early price tag because he's going to be easily in the 5Ks in a couple of weeks, if not sooner. This game overall, not really one that intrigues me all that much. Both PKs struggled last year, but both power plays were pretty average. Minnesota grades out as the 10th best line overall. They're pretty expensive. I just think there are better spots on the slate to pay up for than the $18,800 Minnesota one. So, like I said, I'll get to Minnesota one in the future, just probably not in this matchup tonight.
Moving on here to the Nashville. Sorry, I was just doing something on my charts there.
No worries.
I just realized I got something all messed up here. Moving on to the Nashville Predators and the Columbus Blue Jackets. Pretty interesting game here tonight, coming in with a projected total of 3.2 for the Nashville Predators and 3.1 for the Blue Jackets. Predators slight favorites here, playing at home, hosting the Blue Jackets. I don't really know where to go in this game, to be totally honest with you. I am kind of terrified of playing both of these teams because they have both bit me so many times in the last year or two. I think when you kind of look at this game overall here, there's definitely arguments to be made to getting to the top lines. Columbus won grading out as the 11th best line to target on the slate. Nashville won grading out as the 12th best line on the slate. Really not a lot of ownership whatsoever coming in on these sides. $16,200 to full stack. Nashville one. Worth noting, rookie Brady Martin, drafted in the first round this year from Nashville, is going to be centering that top line there. In terms of the Columbus side of things, this top line was so good last year. Sean Monahan, Dmitry Voronkov, Kirill Marchenko. I admittedly am a little surprised to see them coming in at like sub 1% ownership for a stack. I don't really have any issue getting to them here tonight, this top line. They are obviously a line $17,100, not the most expensive, kind of middle of the pack there, but it does seem like a nice spot for them. There is some ownership coming in on Nashville 3 as well, which I think could be an interesting play for a little bit of salary relief. Eric Holla centering Jonathan Marchessault and Michael Bunting, grading out as the 44th best line to target overall on this slate here, but both Bunting and Marchessault have been pretty much point per game players going up against the Blue Jackets in their career. Marchessault going to have some correlation on that top power play unit as well. Brock, what do you think about this game? Because this one is kind of weird to me.
On the surface, I think it's a game that I want to avoid, but then you take a look at what happened between these two teams last year: 4-3 game in the first meeting and 8-4 in their second meeting. So I think that there's the possibility for fireworks tonight, and I think that specifically the Columbus side of things, I'm interested, right? Like Voronkov, Monahan, Marchenko were so good last year. They're coming in a lot cheaper than they were last year, and there's no ownership there. So I think Columbus one has my interest. I have reservations about Nashville one. I think Brady Martin's going to be a really good player in this league. I don't necessarily trust that top line right out of the gate with him up there. I think it's a tough matchup to start your NHL career on the top line like that. So, obviously two capable veteran wingers with him, but I don't know if I trust the Nashville side of things. I'm more inclined to play the Blue Jackets. I think the second line's in a fine spot too. Mostly interested in like a Jenner Fantilli mini. But I think it's mostly Columbus one for me in this game. I think that given the fireworks that we saw last year, there's the possibility kind of exists for them to have another high scoring game tonight. So I like the Columbus side of things, and that's probably the extent of it for me. Speaking of fireworks, though, Colorado and Utah should be fun. I think that, like many people, I'm extremely high on Utah coming into the season. I've got them making the playoffs. During our fantasy season-long podcast, I literally had Gunther as my breakout right winger. I had Paterka as my breakout left winger, and I had Cooley as my breakout center. So pretty high on that entire top line. The implied total tonight, though, just 2.7, 3.6 for the Avs. When you take a look at the matchups, it's pretty bleak on both sides of things, but I think this game is going to be high scoring. I think that this is a game that I want to get pieces of on both sides of the puck. I think the one concern I have is like the Avs looked really good on opening night, but they graded us the top line at target at just 6% ownership. I'm absolutely fine getting there. They looked fantastic. I still think that Netchas and Lehkonen are far too cheap. McKinnon at 8,500, you could argue, is probably too cheap as well. So I am fine 100% getting to Colorado 1. The depth, I'm not going to worry about getting to Colorado depth. Landeskog only played like 11 minutes on the first game of the season, so I'm not really concerning myself with the depth pieces of Colorado just yet. On the Utah side of things, they obviously don't grade out well. The second line grades out as the 36th line. The top line grades as the 38th line. That top line is just 15,800. Like, that's crazy to me. Seeing no ownership, yeah, the matchup isn't great, but it's still Scott Wedgwood and not Mackenzie Blackwood. So as good as Wedgwood has been during his time in Colorado, I don't want to disparage him too much, but I do think that the Utah Hockey Club can score some goals tonight, and specifically that top line at $15,800. Like, that is the cheapest you're probably getting them all season. And with no ownership, I'm going to take a dart throw on them in large field GPPs. They're not like, I'm building a single entry. That's not the team that I'm getting to or the line that I'm getting to, but in deep tournaments, that's certainly a line with no ownership that I think can pay off their salary. I just want to pull up these two teams' meetings from a season ago. Colorado won 5-1, Utah won 4-1, and Colorado won 4-1. The road team won every single game, if that matters to you. 3 games left here, Zach.
Yeah, and we go from an exciting one to a not super exciting one. Seattle Kraken are hosting the Anaheim Ducks here tonight, coming in at minus 127 favorites. Feel like that line's pretty much in the right spot here between two teams. Kind of an ugly game, to be totally honest with you. Seattle 1 is seeing quite a bit of ownership here tonight on this slate, which is admittedly a little bit surprising for me, coming in as one of the higher owned lines here tonight. Not sure if I can totally get there, to be honest with you. Second highest owned line on the slate behind Boston 1. I guess the idea is maybe the fact that Matty Beniers owns the Anaheim Ducks. 11 games played, 6 goals and 17 points. If that's an angle you want to attack at, I suppose you can get there for sure. The matchups are good for pretty much every line here in this game tonight. I just don't know if I entirely love it. I'll probably sprinkle in a little bit of the Seattle one just in case Beniers does have one of those games again. Shane Wright also done well against Anaheim in his career. 5 games played, 4 goals and 7 points. You know, Seattle really is going to need Shane Wright to take a step forward here. And this could be a spot where, you know, maybe he finds a way to get on the board a little bit more. This Anaheim side of things, pretty much the same thing as last year for me. I have a tough time kind of getting there. They almost feel like a worse version of the LA Kings, where it's like you don't really know which line to target and you don't really want to target any of them. Not much ownership coming in here on this Seattle side or this Anaheim side tonight. For me, probably going to be staying away in what I think is going to be a lower scoring game.
I think this game has the potential, like we talk about it often. It's one of those games where it's going to be 2-1 or like 5-4. I think there's potential for fireworks. I pretty much never play Seattle. I think they are a less fun version of the LA Kings. I think that the Ducks are at least fun, where the Kraken are not. I think this Anaheim 2 line is super interesting tonight. I think Mason McTavish finished the season really strong. I think Cutter Gauthier finished last season really strong. Both priced pretty reasonably. And then Bennett Seneke is a player that just was kind of like a fourth liner to start the year. And then Ryan Strome got hurt. Now Seneke's moved up to lineup at $2,500 at $13K with no ownership. I think Anaheim 2 is probably the only line I'm targeting in this game. And it's a line that I really like going to for value tonight at no ownership and super, super cheap. I think there's plenty of upside here with Gauthier, McTavish, and Seneke. 3 talented offensive players that I think could have a big night this evening. And yeah, like, I guess I'll throw it back to you here for a second. Like, have I swayed you at all in Anaheim?
Yeah, maybe a little bit with that Anaheim 2 side. I don't mind that as a salary saving option here tonight. Seneke at $2,500. That's a really interesting one, considering he's projected for less than 1% ownership here on this slate tonight. You know, the game does have a pretty high pace score. So who knows? Maybe this one does pop off a little bit.
I mean, it's also the second power play unit, but they fully correlate on a power play unit as well, which certainly helps the case. So give me some Anaheim 2 as a salary saver tonight. 2 games to get to. We've got the San Jose Sharks and the Vegas Golden Knights. 3.7 implied total for the Golden Knights on the road here. The Sharks at 2.6. I don't think that I'm going to get to any San Jose in this matchup. The Golden Knights a pretty talented team. And I just don't really like the way San Jose has kind of put their lineup together so far early this season. Like Philip Kurashev with Macklin Celebrini, hard pass. Eklund, Wenberg, and Toffoli, decent numbers together last year, but Wenberg kind of sucks away a lot of the offense. They're not playing Michael Misa, so I just don't really see a reason to get or get excited about stacking the Shark side of things. On the Vegas side of things, I'm certainly interested. I talked yesterday about being super into Vegas 1. They had a great game. In the Discord chat later after the show, I was talking about how much I was in on Vegas 3. Vegas 3 obviously was all Dorofeyev last night, but he smashed. The other two kind of sucked and really held me back from having a monster night last night. Like I was set up in a great spot to have a huge night. And if Hurdle and Sad could have got in on anything that Dorofeyev did, it would have been huge. But both those lines are super interesting to me. I don't really care about the Carlson Stone line, but Vegas 1, I think they're going to build off of what they had going last night. They were dominant. It worked right away with Mitch Marner. Not seeing a lot of ownership at all. Dorofeyev still seeing a decent chunk of ownership. Price went up about $200. Hurdle's the one that went up a lot. I don't know, again, if I'm going to necessarily full stack Vegas 3, but getting to Dorofeyev, getting to this power play, getting to Vegas 1 is certainly something that I want to do. When you take a look at the power play tonight, is the second best power play advantage on the slate. So I'm interested in a lot of Vegas. I am quite surprised at how little ownership they're seeing.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought after last night that we'd be seeing them coming in with a little bit of steam here on this slate. Who knows? Things can still change. We still got a couple of hours here until lock, but I was expecting more ownership coming in on this Vegas side for sure.
Final game of the night, Zach.
Yeah, and kind of an interesting one here. Vancouver Canucks hosting the Calgary Flames, coming in as minus 205 favorites here. 3.6 implied total for the Vancouver Canucks, 2.5 for the Calgary Flames. Calgary won, grading out as the best line here in this game. 19th overall, and Calgary 3 not super far behind at 27th overall. What's really interesting is actually this Vancouver side of things. They are seeing a pretty healthy amount of ownership here on this slate tonight. Vancouver 1 coming in one of the higher owned lines at around 7%. I'm not necessarily in agreement with that. I don't really like the look of this top line here. For me, Elias Pettersson is going to have to prove me wrong this season. Evidently it was a pretty tough last year for him, last couple of years, really. He needs to take a big step forward here for this Vancouver Canucks team, really show he can be that franchise centerman. Interestingly enough, the second line drawing some pretty good ownership as well, 6.3%. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get there on this second line. And I think the reason for that is I have a little more interest in this third line for the Vancouver Canucks. You got two rookies here in Braden Coots and Jonathan Lekermacki making their, Braden Coots' NHL debut. I think he was a first-round pick last year for the Vancouver Canucks. Lekermacki has been solid in the American League for a couple of years now. Great shot volume. He scored a couple of beauties against the Edmonton Oilers in the preseason here. And they got the big man Evander Kane on the other wing. So I think this is a really, really interesting, super cheap line to play at just $10,200 that can really help open up some things on this slate for you if you want to go after some of these more expensive lines to target. Calgary Flames side of things, I don't know how great I'm going to feel about playing the Calgary Flames this year. They did not look great last night. Sure, they won 4-3 in a shootout, but all three of their goals were just ridiculously fluky. Gridden scored in the first period off of a weird bounce. Connor Zary had his stick likely above the crossbar and tipped one down. And then I don't know what the hell Stuart Skinner was doing on Blake Coleman's goal, but it was equally as ugly. I think, the first and the third line are probably the ones that I've got the most interest in if I am going to get to this Calgary side of things. But this Matvei Gridden kid, man, he could be something interesting. $3,200, got a great shot. Had a bit of a nose for the net last night, to say the least. But
he had 5 shots, didn't he?
Yeah, I think he did. Yeah, he was all over the place last night. So, hey, Calgary could use some juice like that.
Yeah, 5 shots on 6 shot attempts in 15 and a half minutes last night. I think I feel a little differently about Vancouver 1. I have faith that Elias Pettersson is going to bounce back. I think that Brock Besser is a nice price site. Like, I don't overall love the price tag on Pettersson after what we saw last year, but I think like if he's anything close to his former self, like he's still a $7,000 player. So second half of a back-to-back, Devin Cooley, is not Dustin Wolf. The implied total here for the Canucks, I'm going to just kind of buy into the sports books tonight and get some interest in the Canucks just because they have, what is it, like the second highest or the highest? Second highest implied total on the slate. So I'm going to buy in. I'm going to stay away from the Flames, second lowest implied total on the slate. I think that I'm just going to trust the sports books here. There's got to be something there with the Canucks. I don't know which line it's going to come from. I tend to think that it's the top line would be my preferred target. When we take a look at the power play, it's not great, but the power penalty kill for the Flames was not very good last year. How many power play goals did Edmonton have last night? One or two?
One for sure, maybe two. I can't exactly remember.
Oh, I pulled up the wrong team. I wanted to look at the Vancouver Canucks power play, but I'm pretty sure they fully correlate the top power play. Yeah, they do with Hughes and Kane. So 2 power plays. That's what I thought.
Oilers had 2 power play goals.
That's what I thought. So yeah, like I think it's a power play that obviously isn't the Edmonton Oilers, but it's it could certainly find some success again tonight. I think that top line is super interesting. So that's your game breakdown. It took 34 minutes on the show that we wanted to take 45, so we got about 10 minutes left to talk about our favorite lines of the day. So Zach, I'll give you the floor here. Give me some of your favorite targets after breaking them all down.
Yeah, I think for me, I mentioned it before, Tampa 1, I think is one of my favorite lines to target here on this slate tonight. Paying up to get different. Obviously, they're very expensive, but I think there's some lines out there. You can find some pretty solid salary relief. Vegas 1, another one of those top lines for me that I've got a lot of interest in here. Just a great spot going up against the San Jose Sharks. Beyond that, I don't know, man. I think Buffalo 2 could be an interesting kind of deep play, but really Carolina 2. You talked about them earlier. I think they are a very interesting option here on this slate tonight.
Yeah, like for me, Vegas 1 stands out as just a line that is just not seeing nearly enough ownership. 19,600. Like I still think that's as cheap as they're going to be north of 20K before you know it. So I'm taking advantage of the lower ownership for some reason. I'm going to take advantage of that price tag. They're our 4th best line at 3.8% owned. Similarly, Florida 1. Dan Vladar is a goalie that frightens me at all. I don't know if you guys have looked at the Philadelphia Flyers blue line recently, but woof. So, I think Florida is going to find themselves plenty of room this evening, plenty of success. I prefer this the top line still. Those 2 lines, Vegas 1 and Florida 1, both graded out in the top 5 lines for us tonight, both at under 5% ownership. I think that they are great pay up options. I would much rather play them than Boston 1 at almost the exact same price and 3 times the ownership. I think I like Carolina 1. I like Carolina 2. And then I really like the Red Wings. Like maybe that's just the homer in me, but I think that the top line, Larkin, Raymond, and Emmett Finney they have the best matchup overall. You've got Larkin and Raymond with the top power play matchup overall as well. And then if you want to just not worry about paying up for the expensive Red Wings, I mean, Brantic Nygaard and Axel Sandin Pellikka both at minimum price as a mini stack, I think is fine. This matchup is unreal for the Red Wings 3rd line. Brantic Nygaard's got a phenomenal shot. If you watch the Red Wings in the preseason at all, their 2nd power play unit when it steps over the boards is pretty reliant on Sandin Pellikka feeding Brantic Nygaard 1-tees. So if Brantic Nygaard scores a power play goal tonight, there's like a 95% chance that Sandin Pellikka correlates and picks up an assist. So I think the Red Wings power play, whether you go with the expensive guys in Larkin and Raymond, who I think are underpriced at 65 and 63, or you want to go with the cheaper options, I think that they are both solid options. But just to circle back, Vegas 1, Florida 1, probably my 2 favorite lines on the slate overall. Carolina 1, Carolina 2, really nice salary reliefs. And then Detroit looks really, really good. Let's get to some defensemen and some goalies. So the highest owned defenseman on the night, not really surprising, your big 2 and Cale Makar and Quinn Hughes. But a little bit surprised that like Axel Sandin Pellikka is projected for 0% ownership. I don't understand how that's possible, but he's going to look good. I think Owen Power is projecting for a lot of ownership at 3K. I think he's a fine play. Harrison Brunick was pretty solid his NHL debut, about 15 minutes, decent amount of volume, blocked a couple shots at 2,500. I think you could punt that one again without a lot of hesitation. I think John Klingberg, not the best matchup, but a guy that's going to play a gross amount of minutes on that top power play unit this year. Thomas Harley's a guy that I love this year. So if you want to play the Stars, I like Harley. I like how expensive is Heiskanen? Heisman's a little bit more, yeah. So for me, Sandy and Pellica, Power, probably my two favorite value plays. They grade out the best. I think that I'm fine with going with both of them in a lot of lineups, and then some of the pay up spots. I think Hughes, obviously that implied total. I think Hughes is a strong play. Obviously, McCarr with the Avs implied total is a strong play. I think Shea Theodore at 6K is an okay play. I don't love that he's not on the top power play unit, but he's going to play big minutes there. Moritz Seider with that power play exposure in that power play matchup, I think is a strong play. Who are you looking at on the blue line tonight?
Yeah, I think you covered off some of the really solid names up top there. A couple of guys to shut out that are some cheaper options. Sam Malinsky at 3K. Wish I would have played him in a showdown in game one because he scored a goal. It's a guy who's done a ton on the ice, blocks a lot of shots, takes a lot of shots as well. Another similar guy, Sean Walker, playing on the top pairing for the Carolina Hurricanes this season. Another guy who gets a lot of shots away. I think he's a solid value option. But I like the Sandin Pellica and Owen Power shouts there. I think they both look like they're in pretty good spots here on this slate tonight as well. John Klingberg, I really liked what he did with the Oilers last year, to be totally honest. He was active in the play, and I think he's going to have an opportunity to sneakily put up some points here on this blue line. They need somebody to feed the puck up the ice, so why not John Klingberg? I think we're pretty much in agreement on a lot of these guys here.
Let's get between the pipes. Thatcher Demko projects as the number one goalie overall tonight. I don't know how I feel about paying $8,500 for Demko. I think Bobrovsky, I'm worried. If I'm trying to lock up a win, I think Bobrovsky's the play. Obviously concerned about the shot volume, but as a cash option, I think he's solid. Boy, some of these expensive goalies are tough tonight. I think Jake Ottinger at $7,800 is somebody that I'm very interested in. He's projected, I believe, for the highest ownership on the night. But like I said, I like Dallas a lot tonight. I think the Jets are going to struggle a little bit early in the season. So I like Jake Ottinger at $7,800. Jet Greaves at $7,500, I think is fine. Even paying down for Hellebuck, I don't think that's going to be a high scoring game at 76. I don't mind Lucas Dostal at 74. I don't mind. Jacob Markstrom's probably going to see an outrageous amount of volume tonight. I don't mind going there. And that's probably the extent of it for me. How about you?
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I don't love the idea of an $8,500 Thatcher Demko here tonight. Vasilevsky, I'll probably get there a little bit at $8,200.
Yeah.
You talk about Markstrom. I actually think Freddie Anderson is a fine play here tonight on this slate. Good implied total or win percentage rather for the Hurricanes in this spot. He's also been great against the Devils in his career. 9 games played, 7 wins, a shutout, 211 goals against average, and 934 save percentage. Very solid track record there for him. Cheaper guys, I don't mind punting off on Jet Greaves there. Feels like it could be a bit of a growth spot, not seeing a ton of ownership there. Maybe a little Jordan Binnington at 8K going up against the Minnesota Twins, Vikings, Wild. There we go. I was going to get to them eventually. I'm thinking of every.
I was wondering where you were going.
I know. I'm still trying to figure that out too. I think those are the guys that I probably got the most interested in here.
Just going back to defenseman for a sec, Raiders 7 says Zeev Buium from Minnesota had a nice preseason, $3,600 for low price defenseman. Yeah, I don't love the matchup, but he's obviously going to play 20 minutes a night, top power play unit. I think that he's a fine play. What is Sam Rizzel's price at tonight? Because he was great in the opener. 6 shot attempts, only 1 got on net. He's gone up $400. Not the most expensive. Not highest owned defenseman on the slate like he was the other night. I think Rinzel at $4,500 is another guy that I really like. The shot volume, the block volume is really good, and a guy that is going to play just oodles of minutes this evening. Okay, let's get to our hat trick pick challenge. If you want to participate in today's hat trick pick challenge, just comment your hat trick pick in the comment section of the video on YouTube. Not the live chat. Drop it below. If your player scores a hat trick, we'll get you a $25 gift card to nationgear.com. Get yourself some DFO swag. Who did you have last night? Did I have Dorofeyev? No, I couldn't have. I had Eichel.
I don't remember if you did.
I had Eichel. Did anybody have Dorofeyev? No, I had Eichel for sure. I remember it now. But boy, I wonder if anybody picked Dorofeyev. After the show, I definitely would have picked Dorofeyev. But you go first. Who do you want tonight?
We don't really like him from a DFS perspective, but I think I like him overall on this slate to score 3. Let's go with David Pastrnak.
Oh, we did have a winner last night.
Oh,
Shannon Brown, 1208, had Pavel Dorofeyev as the hat trick pick challenge. So, Shannon, if you're watching, reach out to me. If you're not in the DFO DFS Discord, you can reach out to me on Twitter at Brock_Seguin, and we'll get you hooked up with that price. I don't have my name in my thing, so that didn't work. Okay, sorry. Who did you pick again?
David Pastrnak.
David Pastrnak. Okay. I went with him on opening night, and he did not score a hat trick. But I'm going back to the well here. I'm going Carter Verhaeghe. Shot volume is monstrous. I think it's a really good matchup. I love Florida one tonight, so I'm going Carter Verhaeghe. It was between him or Jack Eichel. I was going back to the well on one of them, and so you can probably just cash the Jack Eichel hat trick pick tonight. So be sure to comment your hat trick pick in the comment section of the video on YouTube. And while you're on YouTube, please smash that like button, hit the subscribe button as well. We're really doing a lot of good stuff here at the DFO Fantasy and Betting channel. Me and Zach obviously coming live Monday through Friday, except for tomorrow because there's no games. But then also our season-long content. Every day we're dropping at least a 20 to 30-minute video to help you navigate your season-long fantasy season. So if you play season-long in addition to DFS, be sure to smash the subscribe button so you never miss an episode. You get to hear me talk a lot on this channel, so be sure to subscribe for us and hit the like button for today's video. But yes, that's going to do it for this edition and this week of the DFS Hockey Report. No games tomorrow, so we will not be back until Monday. But if you haven't already, shout out to our friends at rotogrinders.com for providing projected ownership for today's show. If you want to join Rotogrinders Premium, you can get the link in the description of the video and get some cash off. Also, if you want to join Action Network, we get a 20% off promo code using the promo code FACEOFF. So those links are in the description of the video on YouTube, as well as the link to our DFO DFS Discord. That is a community that continues to grow. If you want to come join, as soon as this show wraps up, all we do is talk DFS in there. So if you want a little bit more content, join the Discord, and a lot of smart, fun people in there. So be sure to join. I did not cash in on the 2 Hattie wins last year. Are they still available? Yes. If I gave you the discount code, you can use them. That is fine. Great stuff as always, gents. Thanks, Brett. We'll see you guys back here on Monday. Have a great weekend. Go Tigers.